The Limpopo government's new proposed liquor sales restrictions seem to not be going down too well with traders and patrons. It's planning to ban the sale of alcohol after midnight at the province's taverns, pubs, restaurants and other establishments from next month. And its motivation for doing so, it says, stems from responding to gender-based violence, child abuse, community instability, as well as sexual crimes, in which it says alcohol abuse is a major contributing factor. Let's talk now to the MEC for Economic Development, Environment and Tourism, Rodgers Monama. MEC, good evening to you and welcome to our program. Let's start with the reasoning behind this. What led to this decision?
Good evening to you and your viewership. And firstly, first and foremost, let me explain that this is a national framework that I think we are trying to adhere to, and Limpopo is one of those provinces that did not manage to have its own Limpopo Liquor Act in the country. So we are trying to normalize situations so that at least we have some regulatory parameters in the province so that we are able to make a proper determination in terms of the trading hours, but over and about to ensure that also we put in place and insert some progressive democratic principles that are there. Because if, for instance, back in 2014, all the MECs in the country have signed the norms and standards in the country, and now this is the time for implementation for all those provinces, and we happen to be one of those provinces. One among others is that which is causing confusion is around the act, which I think the Limpopo Liquor Act has been promulgated because the provincial legislature has conducted the public hearings where people were afforded an opportunity to go and make comments, inputs, and objections if they were not comfortable. And there is that confusion that others are talking about the act, whereas their things can be addressed in the regulations and other mechanisms that are there in place. It's not necessarily what informed those people. Like today, we were able to meet with the National Traders Association, which they are raising issues that they did not have an opportunity to raise those objections during those gazetted days, and they just come at the end, the tail end of the process. And unfortunately, we're engaging them, but they also have to separate between the act and the regulation, because that's where I think we need to find each other. But all of us, we know that the contribution that liquor has, and the Department of Education, when it's not performing well, they come to us as a regulatory body to say, what is it that you are doing to assist us? But also people are also successfully failing to tell us what inform the 2 o'clock and 12 o'clock, as much as they are pushing or casting any aspersion on the same legislation, but they must also advance some genuine reasons why they are saying that this does not contribute to what the social and the sketch of crime in the province that you are experiencing.
All right. MEC, so just to go back, pardon me, the people that are objecting to this now, whom you've now met with, you're saying in terms of the public hearings for the Limpopo Liquor Act and so on, you know, in the lead up to that act, had their opportunity to object, they didn't participate, and so their objections weren't noted and won't have any influence on this decision. So just to be clear, you mentioned a regulatory framework which created some regulatory parameters for this decision that you're making now. So what you're saying to our audience is, this is not new, this is not something that you dreamed up, this is the last step or the enactment of provisions that were decided upon and made earlier.
Yeah, definitely. I think people have to understand that stage, that any legislation or act is being gazetted, and there are notices for people to be afforded an opportunity to object and to make inputs that can assist to improve the situation.
All right.
Now we just get it now and want to implement. That's why people are making there is that outcry that we are unfair. It seems that we just woke up and said that we wanted to introduce them, which is not true. They have also to check in other provinces and even the national, because like I said, and still maintain that this is a national legislative framework that is there, hence we have signed, or we are the signatory of the norms and standard in the country,
Okay.
of all the MECs in the country.
I'm so sorry to kind of push you and shepherd you along, MEC. We're almost out of time, and I want to cover maybe two quick things, which you can probably cover in one answer. Is the impact you're expecting this to have? I mean, we've seen in the past, people face restrictions, they then tend to stockpile, or they drink large quantities in short spaces of time so that they feel they're not missing out. And then the other is, who's going to enforce this?
Yeah, we are working collaboratively and collectively with SABC and the Department of Social Development, but also people are confused about the on consumption of consumption and the taverns, which the taverns are outside the parameters which we can make a determination. And the outcry normally comes from those taverns. And there is that provision for entertainment, which is not included or incorporated in this regulation, which I think if people have a genuine concern, that's where they have to raise the issue to say, how best do you then regularize and regulate the taverns and the shoppings that you have, or other liquor outlets which are not within the parameters of the Act?
Does this proposed ban in terms of the hours exclude taverns then? Did I hear you correctly?
Definitely, the taverns are in the regulations, or what you call the entertainment facilities, because there is a difference between the off-consumption and the on-consumption. The off-consumption is whereby you buy and live, like your bottle store, your farm wines, and so forth. And the on-consumption is where you buy and sit and drink until 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock, if the case might be.
All right, so essentially it will include places like taverns. This ban would then extend to them once there's an enactment come the beginning of next month.
Yeah, that's definitely
Okay.
that I think we're trying to tell people that this is an opportunity for them to raise those issues if they do. But also we have other submissions like your faith-based organization to say, what informs 12 o'clock? Why not 8 o'clock? And they are raising their own issues. So you have a conundrum of issues that you try to balance. I agree these ones that the National Traders Association, they don't have the monopoly of the very same act that I think we are trying to promulgate. And they must understand where we are sitting, that as government we have to regularize and ensure that we comply and adhere to what is prescribed nationally.
Limpopo MEC for Economic Development, thank you very much for talking to us. That was Rodgers Monama.